your next Lieutenant Governor. Welcome to the city where I have served in local government and state government. Welcome to this place where I was birthed into politics, where I built the bridge between people and resources. This is the place where I want to continue serving as your Lieutenant Governor, and doing so by connecting the resources to the people and extending the bridge to closing the gap for the people and the services that are needed. As your public servant, I want to represent the people and keep people before politics. I understand the necessity for women to be elevated and respected, as we all know that healthcare is essential. Education, we must have quality education. And also, we must also look at the fact that we have prisons that are overcrowded. And as the Lieutenant Governor, I would find it more than an honor to serve to help reform the antiquated services that are there. As a woman who has been an overcomer of racial and sexual discrimination, who has been overcoming all types of hardships, I want to now be that person to help Pennsylvania overcome its challenges. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Congressman Mark Fritz, and I'm running for Lieutenant Governor because I think I can help us win in November. I want to thank Michael for putting us on. This is a great crowd. It's a great opportunity to hear some of our ideas and why we think we can win in May, but more importantly, why we think we help us win in November. The reason that I decided to run for this race is Tom Corbett and his attacks, full frontal assault on education and on working people. And what I can tell you from my background, I've run 4 multi-million-dollar campaigns in Southwest Pennsylvania, and I have name recognition throughout Southwestern Pennsylvania and a poor following because of the work that I did in Congress, the work that I did for Jack Murtha as a staffer, and because I stood strong on issues that were important to the people of this Commonwealth. One of the things that I did see, even though when I went to Congress, my background was armed services, taking care of our military men and women and their families, veterans, and also small business, because economic development is so important to me, is that education is the future of the country. When you start cutting education, you're shortchanging the future of our nation, and that's not a good formula. And when Tom Corbett cut $1 billion out of the education budget, it really incited me to stand up and say, how can I help? Now, I have to be a little bit funny, is that Tom Corbett obviously signed the legislation that redistricted me into a district that was 70% new. They made me the #1 target in the country, spent $8 million against me to defeat me. And in a district where Obama lost by 17 points, I lost by 3.5. So from my perspective, Tom Corbett helped get rid of me out of Congress. I'm just trying to return the favor. Just as a quick little funny note, we've had 2 Marks as Lieutenant Governor in the past. You had Mark Stephen Single, you had Mark Stephen Schweiker. I'm Mark Stephen Kritz, and I want to be your next Lieutenant Governor.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Brad Koplenski. Great to see everyone from, do we have every county represented? I think it's pretty close. I'm running, and you know why I'm running, to make sure that our municipalities have a relationship, let's say, with our Commonwealth. Right now, we're sitting in Harrisburg. You've seen what happened to Harrisburg when we tried to fight for our financial solvency. Tom Corbett and the Republican legislature kept kicking us around. They tried to shove an Act 27 cookie-cutter plan down our throats to try and help us. We're the only city that said no. All right, we pushed back. We got a better deal for Harrisburg. And this past week, the receiver was removed officially because we resolved our debt situation, and we need to make sure that we continue to follow. Thank you. Make sure that we get balanced budgets and things to put us on track to make sure that we continue to do the right things. But we need to make sure we fight for all of our municipalities, because unless you're Philadelphia or Pittsburgh, they're not listening. They don't give a damn. We've got infrastructure problems. We need to regionalize more. We need incentives for that. We need to get something besides property taxes in here to be able to generate some revenue. The Commonwealth needs to do better by all of our municipalities, and that's the reason why I'm running, to take the local government advisory committee and turn that into the conduit to listen to our mayors and our township officials, our borough officials, and our boroughs, townships, and small and medium cities. Also, of course, I'm a very strong progressive. You know that. I'll talk about our bona fides on this. I look forward to a great discussion on the important issues that are facing the progressive community. Single payer, of course, choice, LGBT concerns, education, and what Tom Corbett's done to the people of this state. I think that he's offended or hurt every possible group here in this Commonwealth, and we're here to be an effective voice to join a great gubernatorial nominee that you're going to put up there, and I know that I want to be a great partner with them. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jay Picharno, and I'm running for Lieutenant Governor. And I'm here for one very, very important reason, because I have a passion for public service. I spent over 2 decades as an educator and a coach. But during that time, I also learned from one of my parents some very valuable lessons about public service. You see, that parent taught me to get involved in things beyond just what we do on a day-to-day basis. Things like children's issues, health issues, education, libraries, hospitals, all those kind of things, Special Olympics, that parent taught me. And it's not the parent that you think, it's my mother. And my mother taught me those things because she taught me that we are tallest and we stand the strongest when we help those who need our help. And Robert F. Kennedy once said, the only reason you should get into politics is to use your position to help people in trouble. That is why I got into this race. And those 2 decades as an educator and a coach and in public service, I've served on boards and gotten involved in charities on education issues, hunger issues, health issues, and the environment. Those are things that I got involved in because I believe very, very firmly that we are our best when we serve others. Arthur Ashe, who was a great tennis champion but also a great humanitarian, said true heroism is remarkably sober. It's not the urge to surpass all others at whatever cost, but the urge to serve all others at whatever cost. So in those 2 decades of coaching and educating, I was in some of the best public schools in this country and some of the worst. And anybody who tells you that there is an equality of opportunity across this country hasn't seen some of the places I've been. And I want to bring everybody into a future where our education system in this state is the envy, not of the country, but the world. That's why I'm running. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. My name is Mark Smith. I am a second-term county commissioner in Bradford County, PA, which is Northeast PA. I was elected in 2007 as the youngest county commissioner ever elected in Bradford County, but more importantly, the top vote-getting Democrat in what is a 2-to-1 Republican county. And I think that's something that's special that we need to take to Harrisburg. I grew up in Bradford County. I was raised by a single parent, my father, who was an auto mechanic, and after my mother had passed away of cancer when I was a kid, he was confronted with raising me and my sisters really on a shoestring budget. And I can tell you, growing up, what a difference was made by the things that we believe in as Democrats. The ability to go to school and get the free lunch, the ability to go to the food bank, those were things that were important to me growing up, and really one of the reasons I got involved in running for office in the first place. Because I truly believe that Democrats are the party that lead by picking people up and not by leaving people behind. As county commissioner, we led. We balanced 4 county budgets, we revamped our energy and infrastructure use policies, doing creative things like using methane gas from our landfill to power our nursing home and our county jail. We did a lot of progressive, great things, and we did it by putting people first. And that's the kind of leadership that I would like to take to Harrisburg in the office of Lieutenant Governor, to be able to reach across the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, to look for those progressive solutions that we all believe in, and to take our progressive values into the areas of Pennsylvania where I come from, where I have found success. And I think that's important in 2014 to beat Tom Corbett. It's something that's special to bring to the table, a generational change, somebody with youth, somebody with experience, and somebody that has a proven record financially and a proven record in a very conservative area, I think is something that is very important. So I ask for your support in that endeavor. I have been endorsed by 14 local labor unions across the state. I fight for working families, and I have a real track record of doing so. So I ask you for your consideration, and I look forward to today's debate. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. My name is Mike Stack. I'm a Pennsylvania State Senator, and I've been serving 13 years in the State Senate, fighting for progressive issues. I've been a champion for progressive issues. I'm not here to play it safe. I'm here because Governor Tom Corbett must go, and I want to help that happen. We've got a historical opportunity to change things in Pennsylvania. I am the grandson of an Irish immigrant because America and Pennsylvania is so great, who was able to come to this country and rise to become a U.S. congressman. His two bills that he was an original co-sponsor of, progressives I think know these things, the first minimum wage, 25 cents, the first Social Security bill. And I see these things under siege right now in America and in Pennsylvania by Tom Corbett. Tom Corbett has never met an underdog he didn't want to kick under the bus. From the get-go, before it was popular, I've been fighting Tom Corbett. The first thing he wanted to do in his first week in office is get rid of the Adult Basic Insurance Program, a program for mostly working women, but for people who were underdogs. And it was a great program. It was supported by Democrats and Republicans for years, and Governor Corbett said we couldn't afford it. Well, I stood up to him. And in fact, I was pretty much the only person standing up to him because he had just come into office. And what a Superior Court and a Commonwealth Court finding was that Mike Stack was right to fight on those issues. And they adopted many of my floor speeches saying that it was just plain wrong and unjust for Tom Corbett to do that. So we're still fighting him, whether it's on Medicaid expansion, other opportunities. We will continue to fight him and stand up for underdogs. I'm a captain in the Army National Guard. I think I bring a unique talent to this job, and we look forward to winning together. Progressives can win Pennsylvania. Let's get rid of Tom Corbett. Thank you very much.
First question, and it starts with Mark Pritz, and thankfully there's a question that pertains just to the Lieutenant Governor's office. As Lieutenant Governor, you'll be chair of the Pardons Board. The process for pardons is an antiquated, cumbersome, and time-consuming process. How would you streamline and fix it?
Boy, that is a good question. You know, obviously we have the benefit of technology. We have the benefit of a court system that can work well when you get people working together. And to tell you the truth, I don't have a good answer for you right now because I'm not thoroughly versed on the process right now. It's something that obviously I have to learn between now and the end of the year, if I'm fortunate. But what I can tell you is that I've always been a solutions person. It's always been about making sure that we're as efficient and as effective as we can. And what I can tell you is that I've actually gone through some of the archives and looked at some of the books that Catherine Baker-Knoll, when she was chairman of the Pardons Board, and how she did it and how some of the cases were resolved. So my answer is not a very thorough one, and I apologize for that, but what I can tell you is that what I will do is make sure that we're doing the best for the men and women who are coming before the Pardons Board, that we're making sure that we're making right decisions, that we're making sure that we're giving people not the benefit of the doubt, but the benefit of what they've done to get to that point, and to make sure that we're not punishing people for youthful indiscretions, that we're not punishing people for things that later in life can impact how they live their lives. So the system itself, process, I love process. I love making sure that it works well. And what I can guarantee you is that I will know thoroughly how we do this. Thank you.
Wasn't sure the direction. When I was in another life in Washington, D.C. I worked at the Department of Justice in the Civil Rights Division. And one of the things we enforced was the Civil Rights of Institutionalized Persons Act, and which got me plane tickets to luxurious places like Tallulah, Louisiana. Right? And it was a sobering and interesting experience, because prisons are supposed to be bad. They're not supposed to be that bad. And then we went in and we made sure that the prison conditions were, of acceptable levels. And we did this in many places throughout the country where there were complaints and concerns. And so going up, and in fact we did wind up shutting down the entire Louisiana juvenile justice facility, which was good because the system had to improve, but it was bad because they shipped everyone to Mississippi. And when you're nothing against Mississippi, but the families had to travel, of course, across state lines to make sure that they could see their loved ones. But we need to move on this pardon system. Currently, it's 5 members who make up the pardons board. It has to be a unanimous decision. There's a 3-year backlog from making an application to actually getting a decision. You've got people who made very stupid decisions when they were 18, 19 years old. They want to be a registered nurse, something like that. They're being held back from pursuing their lives and their dreams. We've got to streamline it. We've got to make sure that it's more than just the 5 people, including the Attorney General and Lieutenant Governor, who consider these things. We've got to expand it, get some more folks involved to be able to make these decisions and delegate to get final approval by potentially the Attorney General and the Lieutenant Governor, but we've got to delegate some of those things out. Thank you.
Okay. I think the most important thing that you have to understand is what is the actual goal of what we're trying to create when we put people away for crimes they committed. We're trying to rehabilitate them. We're trying to give them another opportunity. We're trying to give them a chance to get back and become productive members of society. Now, as it relates to parole and pardons, when it comes to public safety, you're better off being 1 day too late, or even a year too late than 1 day too early. And I think we want to streamline it. We want to become more efficient. It's going to create, we're going to have to incorporate a lot of technology, more so than we have. We're going to have to make sure that the programs we have in place to rehabilitate people in our prisons are actually rehabilitated. I know Rockview State Prison is right down the road from where I live in Center County, and there are a lot of people there that have been able to do some very positive things with their lives through outreach at Penn State University, getting degrees. They've taken those steps to get themselves to where they're ready to compete when they come out of prison. But the parole board is going to have to, obviously I think 5 people handling the entire state is something that has to be looked at. That's an awful lot of casework and workload for just 5 people to handle. But it's something that once we get into office, we'll take a look and see if there are areas where we can become better. And that being the case, we'll take into account whether we've rehabilitated people or whether we are, and make sure they're ready to return back into the mainstream.
Well, as a county commissioner, I can tell you, I have had the experience of working in the correctional facility business for my terms as county commissioner. And just for clarification, the PA Board of Pardons accepts recommendations from the Probation and Parole Board, and then that decision is gone over and then it is sent to the governor for a final decision, just so we're all clear on that. And I think understanding the process is a key factor for anybody going into office for Lieutenant Governor. They ought to know what that process is and what we're doing first before you can decide how you're going to fix the problem. I think starting with the parole board and understanding that we need folks who believe in the same things we do that are making those decisions, that we get folks involved that are progressive, that do want to rehabilitate inmates, and certainly don't believe in the bricks and mortar approach that the current administration is taking to how to deal with corrections in the state of Pennsylvania. We're spending billions and billions on it, and it's something that is not only financially scary, but scary for our society as well. So I think at every step, putting forth our progressive values is going to be key. Really actually focusing on those rehabilitative programs like mental health treatment in jails is going to be key to our success over the long term.
The way you solve the problem is to reduce dramatically the number of people who need pardons. And the way you do that, and it's something I'm working on right now, is you get stupid crimes expunged from people's backgrounds so that they don't need pardons. I'm working on legislation right now to make it expungible for marijuana offenses and other stupid kinds of things. We shouldn't have to waste time, money, and energy reviewing these pardons. We've got to reduce that list by making there is no necessity to have that long backlog. So this can be done with expungement. And we've got to be smarter about crime. And another thing, the word rehabilitation is an absolute joke. Does anyone think that we're actually rehabilitating people in prison? We are warehousing them. So we've got to find a way to train people who have gone to prison and made mistakes to make sure that they can re-enter the job field and support their families and be vital. That's something that we're failing at. What Governor Corbett has done has invested in failure. He spends more money building prisons than public education. It's unacceptable. We've got to change things, and we can.
We have 51,000 inmates that are costing us at least $47,000 per person. So we have to do, as my colleagues have already said, we must reduce first those that are going into prison. We need to make sure that we can reduce that number. And since we do have an antiquated system, we have to review that system. There are access to online information that can smooth out the process. But I believe what will really help the government in a time where we have economic challenges within our budget is that we have to become innovative and begin to connect those that are working in our human service agencies and connect them with the government to help. There are many, many groups that are working with ex-offenders that can help with the process of petitions for parole. And they are waiting to be used. Some of them are already actively engaged. And having worked in the prison system, having worked to walk hand in hand with people who have family members in prison, it's understandably undeniable that people don't always understand, and so a lot of times their parole petition will be kicked out, meaning they have to start all over again. So if we start linking people together, bridging the gap, we'll be able to reduce, at least begin streamlining the process.
So there's an opportunity for rebuttal. Would everybody like to do so? Okay, didn't think so. Here's a very easy and open-ended question. Brad, you get to go first. What will you do to expand access to the ballot box?
I think we're going to hear a lot of the same answers, but no, we've seen, we're behind the times here in Pennsylvania. We're kind of like the Wild West on campaign finance reform, where anybody can give anything pretty much as long as you report it. It's okay. We've got to move towards making it easier to have everyone be able to vote and exercise that right. Obviously, vote by mail, same-day registration, I believe are important. We've still got a ballot, not a ballot box, but we've still got a voting machine problem here in this state. And we've got to make sure that those voting machines are working right and that the votes that are made are effectively counted. But we've got to make sure, and we can do that with the legislature. As you know, the Lieutenant Governor is the President of the State Senate. Smart, effective legislation that goes through. I think that we're going to hear a lot of the same things on this answer, but it's absolutely vital because, the Republicans are doing everything they can to make sure that our people, in every way, shape, and form, don't have the ability to get out and vote and then have their vote counted. We obviously saw the voter ID debacle and the situation and issues with that. I know that we all stood strong against that, and we beat it back. And thanks to you, and thanks to the folks in the labor movement and our activists to make sure that the courts made sure that this was the wrong thing to do, and there is no voter fraud, and we've got to make sure that our folks are able to vote. Thank you.
I think we got to look at every possibility. We live in an amazing time where technology allows us to do a lot of different things. I think we've got to talk about online voting. We've got to explore early voting. We've got to explore, all options that are on the table. I worked at the 2008 presidential campaign, I worked with the Obama campaign, and I was at the polling places on the day of the election, and there were long, long lines of Penn State students waiting in line to vote. Many of them waited an hour and a half, 2 hours, and people showed up and said, if you come back at 9 o'clock tonight, there won't be a line, which was true, but they wouldn't be able to vote either. But the students stood there. But the people running the polls that day refused to split the book into two and go A through L, M through Z, because they wanted to suppress the number of students that they know were going to vote, and they knew who they were going to vote for. The polling volunteers are some of the best people we have, because they give their time, they sit there, and they go and deal with all that. But we've got to make voting, we should not fear everybody having a voice. If we are really right in the marketplace of ideas, we want to make it as easy as possible for people to voice their opinion, show up and vote. And I would explore every option that's out there, any idea, because it is a right that we have. It's a right that people fought and died for, and it's a right for all of us to have a say. One man, one vote, and one woman, one vote. Thank you.
Sure.
In my years as a commissioner, we've been dealing with the electronic voting machines, and I've seen firsthand how unreliable and frail these machines are. Those of you who have worked elections probably know the amount of problems that you see on election day just trying to keep up with the machines. We have several people that have to work the machines just on a daily basis. So I think reforming what we're expecting out of municipalities in terms of the purchase of the voting machines and the quality is something we definitely need to take a look at. I also believe that we really do need a real paper trail to verify these machines. Obviously, I believe in everything everybody said here today, but I also think we ought to take one step further. Voting is so important in our country, what we believe in, then it ought to be a state holiday, and we ought to work for it.
Well, naturally, we know who the attacks were directed on with voter ID. It wasn't to stop Republican turnout. And I was proud to stand with Dalen Leach on the Senate floor and fight the enemies of democracy on this issue. And it's going to be a non-stop issue where we're going to have to continue to fight, because it is our voters, progressive voters, Democratic voters, common people who want to come out and vote and be involved in the democratic process that are the ones under siege. So it's going to be an ongoing effort. I think that the entire way of looking at this should be to do everything possible to make it as simple as possible for as many people as possible to vote. And listen, I agree with what Mark said about making election day a day for us to vote. When I was growing up, I wasn't a perfect child, but I started working the polling places when I was 11 or 12 years old. And when I was old enough to vote, oh, God forbid if I missed an election, I would be in big trouble. So that's the way I see it. And I want to see young people involved in working the polling places and getting familiar and knowing how our great democracy works. So everything we can do from the standpoint of technology, from the standpoint of making sure election workers are trained in favor of making sure people vote. That's the key. We've seen democracy purged in the past by this, and that's why we're here together to fight and make sure it doesn't happen again. So let's fight on this. Thank you very much.
If I'm correct, I think it was the 19th Amendment that gave women the right to vote. And so with this being the month of Women's History Month, it is especially with great gratitude that I'm grateful that I have the opportunity to vote. I think everyone has said much of what I